Hey, 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 yeah, hey, what a time to be alive. I left them for dead, now I'm living right. No new friends, no new advice. That was high then, but we got bigger heights. We got bigger fish to fry. Bet on myself, then I roll the dice. Man, it ain't a gamble if you know you nice.
Cool. All right. Well, welcome back to Dawn of Dream Podcast. I'm your host, Art. Hey, man, we got a special guest in the building today, Mike Powers, CEO and founder of Solar Buffs. All right, man. Good to have you on. Good to have you on, bro.
Glad to be here.
Cool, man. Okay, so I want to kind of just get started with your background, your story. Where were you born? What was it like growing up? What was family like? Things like that.
Man, I was born here in Dallas, Texas. Never lived anywhere else. Born in '95.
When's your birthday?
October 30th, right before Halloween.
Okay, good.
Yeah. As far as growing up, I had both parents, luckily. So they never went through a divorce or anything. I was, blessed to have both parents. Growing up, my dad, just hardworking guy, stoic guy. Always worked 2 jobs, 1 job, worked all the time. Mom was a stay-at-home mom, homemaker. She was the one that was just like full of unconditional love.
Mm. Was it, did you grow up in like a faithful house? Were you all going to church? What was that relationship like?
I was thinking about this on the way over here because I knew it was going to be brought up with the books that we were reading and the conversation we had a couple weekends ago. Elementary school, middle school, we probably went to church like maybe twice a year. It wasn't a big thing. It wasn't talked about. I didn't know about praying. It was there. It was just on the outside. It wasn't like our family didn't believe in it. But it wasn't around. It wasn't really taught. You know what I mean? It's not like we were atheists or anything like that, because we, would go to church occasionally, but it wasn't significant enough for me to like even understand it. And I'll be honest, like I didn't even, and then high school came along. I never went to church. Early 20s, definitely didn't go to church. There was a time in the early 20s where I was just like, oh, I'm spiritual. Not religious. I'm spiritual. The thought like that.
You wouldn't even claim
now
it.
I'm definitely religious. I don't go to church or anything, but shit, I talk to God. I pray multiple times a day.
Mm-hmm.
Faith is high.
Do you think it was because maybe your parents were almost just too busy to like try to teach it? And because you're saying your dad had 2 jobs, mom was taking care of the house. Like, was it something?
Man, I'm still trying to connect with my dad on it. Not everybody believes the same things,
Mm-hmm.
So my dad grew up in a very very tough way, and grew up it's another conversation, but grew up in a very tough way, like a lot of people do. And then his mom passed away like when he was probably 30. So I don't think he really had much faith. I think too many hard things happen in his life to have faith. Like a lot of people fall in that way. Not saying he's not a good person at all. He's a great person, great father. But I think that, some people think, go through things in life where they just think, if God was there, why am I going through this, right?
Mm-hmm.
My mom grew up a little more religious, but again, it just wasn't pushed for us,
I feel like I grew up kind of very similar. It was always there, but it wasn't like a center of attention.
Yeah.
And I think for me it was more because we were like almost just trying to make ends meet.
Exactly. Yeah. To go back to that, I mean, now I don't have kids yet, so I don't know what it's like. But yeah, they were always busy and they were always just trying to make the paycheck stretch. So it was the last thing,
Yeah. What was it like having it sounds you said your dad was working 2 jobs, he was very stoic. What impact did that have on you and who you are today?
Man, I'm sure we all heard like the quote, "You'll understand when you're older."
Mm-hmm.
Like my dad always said that. You'll understand when you're older. Didn't understand the quote. Now that I'm older, I understand like, okay, shit, things can be hard. Like now I look back and I appreciate, even if I didn't have that much, I appreciate all that goes into it. Because he was working all the time. There was always food on the table. We always had clothes. We always had a roof over our head. we always had transportation to get around. You know what I mean? Everything that we needed was always there. And looking back, it was because of him. And my mom got to be a mom, and we weren't just dropped off at, you know, daycare, nannies or whatever. She got to stay at home and be a mom because of him, and I respect that because it was very traditional.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any brothers and sisters?
I have a younger sister.
Yeah. And when you're going into high school, are you like going to like what are you thinking about wanting to do with life? Was entrepreneurship like always there in the forefront?
Dude, I was a very driven kid. Like, because my dad worked so hard, I respect it more now, but from the time I was like in middle school, I seen how hard my parents worked and how like tight stuff was, that I went out and hustled. Like, I was going door to door, you know, offering to mow people's lawns, fix their sprinkler heads.
How old are you?
Dude, I have business cards from 6th grade.
Really?
6th grade, what is that?
It's like 13.
11, 12, whatever it is. But I was going, and I had like a route of people in the neighborhood that I would do a bunch of stuff for.
This is in Dallas?
Yeah, in Carrollton, yeah.
Oh, yeah, because you and Alex went to the same high school.
Yeah.
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 He's coming on tomorrow. That's so funny.
Mm-hmm.
So your first job was at in 6th grade? Or was your first?
Yeah, that's when I first started, because I was always that kid that, like, we had everything we needed, but I always wanted more. And what am I going to do? Like, go ask my dad, like, oh, I want a new pair of shoes, or I want this for football, or I want this. Like, they're already working hard. They're already providing. Like, I'm going to go try to make $20 on this lawn, or $50 fixing some sprinklers, or whatever it is. You know what I mean?
So what you were going door to door, did you fail in the beginning, or is everyone saying yes?
Dude, I did not. What was cool about looking back on this is I didn't even think of failure, or I didn't, the thought of, oh, this person might say no to me, it didn't even cross my mind. I was just like, I'm going to go knock on the door and offer it, and go to the next and offer it. And if I didn't even think about, like, what if they all say yes? What if I have to mow 20 lawns? How am I going to figure that out? I didn't think about any of that. It was just like, just go and do it. Take action, you know?
It's almost ignorance is bliss. You don't know that, oh, if someone says no, that's going to like hurt you.
Yeah.
But then you like learn that, oh, this can hurt me.
Yeah.
Okay, this is going to kind of go into
and
the book.
What's funny, sorry to interrupt you, is like, as we got older, because I've done door knocking and stuff now, those fears came up in my head, even though I'm like way more successful, knowledgeable, and older now. Those fears came up in my head when I didn't even have them in 6th grade. And I'm just now thinking about that right now that we're talking.
But going back to the book you recommended to me, is Conversations with God, is you can either operate out of faith or fear. And when you're young, you didn't even know you could operate out of fear.
No.
And then as you're aging, then people are saying, it's almost like people are showing you that, hey, people can say no, and then it can be like discouraging, but you didn't even know that. So you're being programmed to operate in fear without even knowing.
We're being programmed. Kanye did an interview a long time ago, and he talks about, like, you know, a little kid with a cape on his back jumping up on the coffee table thinking that he's Superman. And when he's doing that, he thinks he's like, you know, a superhero. And then he gets yelled at by, you know, uncle or mom or dad, get off of there, you know?
Yeah.
And it starts placing that programming and that fear in his head that, oh, he's not a superhero.
Yeah.
That dream didn't work. I can't do that. Different things happen through our life that definitely, like, reprogram us in a negative way, for sure.
And going to Kanye's point, his mom would always be like, Kanye, this is the best music ever. She would, like, the reason I think, obviously Kanye's who he is because his mom, but he would make music, and his mom would just be like, yo, this is amazing. And she would just feed and feed and feed that positive energy to where Kanye's like, yo, my mom thinks this is the best thing ever. Who cares what anyone else thinks?
Right.
But and then, like, once she's gone, it's like that's all he has left. And that's why he seems crazy. I mean, do you think Kanye's a genius?
I don't know if I can, like, say anybody's a genius, but I think he's misunderstood, and he's misunderstood by the masses of people that are brainwashed into thinking the, you know, normal propaganda way. When I see interviews of him, there's some stuff I'm like, oh, that's a little much. But most of the interviews, like I just said, or we were just talking about, is like, that hits home, you know? It's smart. It's thinking out of the box, you know?
I think Kanye is a genius. Obviously, he has some ridiculous stuff. that's just he's just saying just to get clicks and views and
Yeah,
things
yeah.
like that. And it's like, I know what you're doing.
Right.
Sometimes he tries to be smart and it just does not go his way.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I think he's definitely has some genius in him. So you're knocking on doors in 6th grade. You're making income, and you realize that I can go and do this on my own. Do you ever consider getting a job, like working for somebody?
Well, I was doing that. I was too young to even get a job at that time because they only allow like 16 plus to get a job, right? So I was doing that from 6th grade all the way through high school. As long as I was living at my parents', I was basically doing that. But my first job, I was freshman year of high school. I was 15. I lied on the resume that I was 16 just so I could get the job.
Where was it?
It was a Corinthians retirement home right across the street from Creekview.
Okay.
Terrible job.
Why?
Cleaning up food from old people that are senile and shitting their pants.
Yeah.
A lot of stories. I worked there with 2 of my cousins. It was a good time. Going back, it was a terrible job. I was washing dishes, cleaning tables for $8 an hour.
Mm-hmm.
But it was fun. We had a good time. We goofed around. There's a lot of stories from older people. There was war veterans there. So
what's a good story that you heard that resonated with you?
Man, honestly, there was just a lot of old guys that were
okay.
You realize that people age, but their minds don't age.
Yeah. That's funny.
Yeah.
Just dudes being dudes.
Yeah, exactly.
So you work at the this senior living area, and then like what's next? You're still door knocking and mowing lawns and
still doing that because that's extra money.
Okay.
I don't even know how much I was making at that time, but it was flowing.
Okay.
I was able to save a lot. Let's see. After that job, I was like 16 years old. I applied at GNC. I was real into fitness, even in high school. I applied to GNC and was like a salesperson at GNC over in Addison.
What were you using? Like, what were you taking away from your sales positions to like utilize in your life? Like, who were you in high school, and how was like sales helping you be who you are in high school and who you are as you're growing up?
So I didn't even know what I was getting into that job. I was just like, I like fitness. I'm taking a lot of supplements. Maybe I'll get a discount. Maybe I'll get some free supplements. It wasn't even about the money. I just knew I needed to work, right?
Mm-hmm.
But from that job, what I liked about it is they had what's called KPIs, key performance indicators. So I was 16. I was the youngest person there, of course. And, there's people all the way up to probably 40 years old that's working at GNC for the corporate, right? A bunch of stores all the way across Texas, U.S. But every week, every month, we'd have these key performance indicators, 10 different things that you have to hit to be able to work there. And they'd have rankings. And I actually have pictures of it where I'm 16 years old and I'm at the top of the list where I'm first, fifth, fourth, third, whatever, multiple times. So it started to boost my confidence that I'm like, man, I'm 16 and I'm like running over these people and I'm working part-time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to school full-time, I'm playing sports, and I'm working here. These guys are here 40 hours a week and they're grown. But I just like the challenge of setting goals because you had to set goals, whether it's, hey, I need to sell 100 of these vitamin packs a month, or we're doing a challenge, I need to sell the most of, this protein container, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm. So when did you realize that you like this? Like, it sounds like sales, because it's like, it sounds like this is who you just are.
Mm-hmm.
And then, because I didn't grow up like that. Most people don't, I don't want to say most people because there are people that do that, but I was programmed to go to school, get a job, go to college. Like, you see other people doing that.
Yeah.
Like, what's going on in your head at that point?
Dude, I really didn't have anyone to tell me. And back then, we didn't have YouTube like we do now, like YouTube University, where you can get mentored by people and learn stuff. It was just kind of intuition, I guess. Again, like, I was real into fitness, setting goals, achieving goals. It made me feel good. At the time, I probably didn't even know it was, purpose-driven.
Mm-hmm.
But hitting goals and achieving them, it's like winning a game, whether you're playing football, basketball, fighting, whatever. So every time I did that, it made me feel better, more successful. It made me feel like I'm doing something with my life,
Mm-hmm. Who were you in high school?
Who was I in high school? Probably a little lost. Like you asked, like, oh, you know, what did you want to do after high school, career path? I laugh at that because I would get that question all the time, whether it's girlfriends, parents at the time, or uncles, aunts, whoever, like, oh, what do you want to do after high school? I have no clue. I would say different things just to like brush people off.
Yeah.
As we grow up, it's like I'm just now coming into I'm 29 this year. I'm just now coming into like, okay, I see what I'm going to do, you know? So to be 16, 17, 18 and know what you're going to do, like any kid that I talk to, I would just tell them to experience as much as possible, you know?
Yeah, I completely agree. Because I just realized now I know what I want to do after like 10 years of doing what I didn't want to do.
Of trying different things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay, then what do you go to college?
No, dude. So worked at GNC, worked at 24-hour fitness.
Okay.
So I worked out. That's all I was into. Played some sports, but I was really focused on
sports?
Fitness and bodybuilding. I did swimming for the first couple of years in high school, and then I did football. I was really good at swimming. I was decent at football. There's just a lot of people that played. But really, like, I was so committed to like fitness, like I wanted to be a bodybuilder, right?
Mm-hmm.
I actually did my first competition senior year of high school, like before I turned 17 years old.
Okay.
So like that's what I was focused on. I lived, you know, and breathed that stuff.
How did you get into that, and why did you decide to compete?
I had an older cousin that 7 years older than me. He came back from Michigan, and I was in probably 8th grade, real skinny kid. He came back, had muscles. I looked up to him, you know, like basically an older brother. We started going to the gym, the rec center together, and man, I was just hooked ever since. So it was always like, I want to look like that. I'm going to set goals, and I'm going to achieve those goals, and it's freaking taken forever,
Mm-hmm.
you know? But there's been so much progress and, you know, experience through that.
What are goals you're setting and making sure you hit to go through this?
At that time, it's just getting stronger, lifting more weight.
Okay.
Because it was impressive looking, you know, like the ego stuff when we're young. And then it was weighing more. Like freshman year of high school, I got a swimming picture. I'm like 120 pounds at 6 foot tall.
Wow.
Like a string bean, you know what I mean? By senior year, the most I weighed was like 205. So I put on a lot of weight. I love that stuff. That's why I gave up on the sports, because I just wanted to focus on training. And
Mm-hmm.
I feel like every time I was in sports, it interrupted getting big.
I got you.
Yeah.
So so you're focusing on doing like fitness, and you're getting away from sports. You're like, are you having competitiveness in the gym? Like, where's that competitiveness coming from? Because you're not competing with anyone but yourself.
I'm competing with myself.
There you go.
It.
Okay.
And it's funny because, like I said, we didn't have YouTube. We didn't have mentors. We didn't have people to talk to about this kind of stuff. And you look back and you're like, shit, that's what I was doing. I was competing with myself, and I didn't even know it. I just felt it. My internal dialogue was telling me that's what I needed to do, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, it made me feel good, you know.
So when did you so you go to then competing, and then you're doing LA Fitness. When did you get in the roofing industry?
Oh, that's way later. So like I graduated high school, and my dad worked at a place called Carroll Clinic. He worked there for like 25, 30 years. He did like casting and bracing and stuff like that, like orthopedic stuff,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Okay.
And there was basically a new position opening up there, and I started that. So I started that like 6 months after I graduated, and I did that for 5 years.
Okay.
It was like inside sales, and these doctors were the doctors of like the Mavericks and the Cowboys, so it was enticing. It wasn't even like, I probably made more at GNC starting out.
Really?
Yeah, because we made commission there. So as soon as I was like, you know, that's another reason why I worked there, because I was like, I'm not just getting paid hourly, but I'm getting paid commission. So it's up to me on how much I make, so I can make more than all the other kids that are working at, you know, bullshit jobs at that age,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And the same with this. I, you know, got a salary, started working there, got the benefits and the 401k and all that. And then a few years into it, I started, or 2 years into it, I was like, man, like this is it. This is all I'm making. And it's funny, I had another company, because I deal with devices and medical equipment for sports injuries, right? So another company wanted to come in and push their product, and they offered me on the side, like, hey, we'll pay you commission if you push this. And I was like, let's do it, you know? So I was able to basically have 2 jobs in one, and I was benefiting our company with profit. I was benefiting the clientele with this machine, and I was benefiting my pockets. So I like tripled what I was making just by doing this. And this was a new position. There was no training on it, right? So I had a list of these, it was 20 doctors, so you can imagine how many patients, as well as athletes, pro athletes that come in there. I was cold calling all these people and offering this machine, because I was, you know, getting like 20, 30 bucks every time I rented this thing out. And, you know, when you're renting 100, 150 of those out a month, you're making some extra money at 18, 19 years old.
That's crazy. It's a win-win-win situation. It's what I really like is when the client wins, the businesses that you work for win, and then you win because you make a lot of money.
Yep.
That's what it's like. It's what I like to focus on. Is win-win-win situation.
And it's incentive based. Like that's one thing that I like about sales is if you want to get something done, you got to incentivize people, you know.
How do you make a successful cold call?
Man, at that time, I kind of sometimes I would just call the people because I'd have a list. But when you work at a clinic, you can see the picture, you can see the name. I'm big on like looking at that stuff. If I see a picture of someone, I can probably tell like your personality just by looking at you. So now I know how to call you, how to speak to you, right? Which that helped. And then another thing that helped is like everybody listens to doctors. So if I tell them the doctor says you need to get this, you better get this.
Interesting.
Right? Even though it costs money like the day before the freaking surgery, you know?
So you're leveraging almost rapport building or research. I would say more research. And then you're leveraging a what's it called? Someone with credibility.
Yep.
So it's very interesting. And then did you ever make cold calls outside of that world?
Before that, when I worked at 24 Hour Fitness, I sold memberships, personal training. So I would cold call all the people that did guest pass.
And how are you making that cold call? Like how is it? Are you able to see their pictures?
No, we're not able to see.
So what research are you able to do to make sure you have a successful cold call for that?
Some of the people were people that I actually like toured the gym and walked through. A lot of people don't even answer. Yeah, it's crazy. Like fitness is like breathing to my life. So like back then a membership is like $25-30. Yeah, $1 a day to be healthy and look good. And who knows where it'll take you, right? And, some people didn't see that as value.
Do you think that, kind of going back and trying to process with you now, is it – because I always hear in sales you have to sell the result, not the whatever the product or service is.
Yeah, one of the biggest things that I've learned in sales is, like, the easy sell is the client that already knows there's a problem and can admit there's a problem, right? So that could be, hey, I'm overweight. I really needed this gym membership. Hey, I got a wedding coming up. I need to lose weight. Personal training for that one, right? The supplement industry. Hey, I need more energy, right? I need my testosterone boosted, right? As far as the medical place, the machine that I was doing was a cold therapy machine. It relieves pain, right? You let them know how much pain they're going to be in after surgery. A lot of people don't like taking pain meds. This is going to take that over, Solar, hey, you're paying, $500 a month for electricity. We can knock that down to 50%, and you own it. But you got to get them to admit and know that there's a problem. You know what I mean? If they can't see that there's a problem, they're not going to look and even pay for a solution, right?
Yeah. That's interesting. It's finding the pain point. Exactly. You have to find the pain point, and then you also have to have them admit there's a problem. But before that, what I'm understanding is you're saying is that if they come to the conversation knowing there's a problem, it's a lot easier. Yeah. But if they don't know there's a problem, you have to educate them on the problem
and convince them there's a problem.
How does that go?
It depends on which one you're talking about.
Let's do fitness.
Fitness?
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty easy.
It's
I mean,
self-explanatory.
now, yeah, it's like, are you happy with looking at yourself in the mirror?
Being direct.
Being direct, yeah. I'm very direct now.
Okay.
Back then, I was a little more, non-direct, but I was probably a lot nicer about stuff because, but now it's definitely more direct. Everybody looks in the mirror every day when they wake up to brush their teeth. Are you happy with the way you look?
Mm-hmm.
Is your girl happy with the way you look?
Those are good questions.
It's summertime. Are you wearing a t-shirt in the pool or are you taking it off?
Yeah.
Are you proud with, your big chest and, your head held high when you're walking across the pool? Are there chicks checking you out or no? You know what I mean? And it's not all about that, but I feel like the basis to a good mindset is taking care of yourself physically. If you can't do that small shit, how is your mental health going to be good?
Bro, it's so. Let me ask you this: what's the conversation like when you're trying to make a sale? Is it 90% you do the talking, 10% them, 30% you're talking, they're talking? What is that dialogue?
My most successful closes is getting them to talk.
Yeah.
If they're talking more, I know I'm getting them set up.
Yeah.
I know they're signing up for personal training. I know they're getting the machine. I know they're signing up for solar.
Yeah.
It's the ones that are shut down.
Yeah.
You can't read them.
Yeah.
If you're all excited about something, I know where to go with this. But if you're not saying anything, and you don't want to be the sales guy that's like, oh, how do you feel about that? If I got to ask that, it's done,
So, okay, going back to, because I completely agree. It's like, I think I should be, when you're doing a sale, you should be doing less of the talking. And if someone's doing more of the talking, I try to ask questions to get them to do more of the talking. Do you ask why?
Why? What?
When okay, so you say you're trying to sell a membership, and you're like, hey, do you like how you look? And they say no. You say why?
Oh yeah, dig into it as much as possible. The more you can dig and the more information you can get out of someone, the more rapport you have. It's rapport building.
Yeah.
And, they don't realize it, but you're building rapport every time you speak with someone, every time they open your mouth. And I call it ammo. The more ammo you got, you're set,
And then you start doing medical equipment sales for 5 years?
Yeah.
And then what happens after that?
Dude.
Well,
this is when it gets interesting.
Let's go back because I'm excited for where this is going to
yeah.
go. But before we jump into that, in those 5 years, what are you feeling? Because you started off not making money, then you were able to kind of create more income doing the win-win-win situation. How are you feeling as those 5 years go up? What's going on in your head?
By the third year, so I started when I was 18, 19, so 21, 22, halfway through it. I was so over it. I was so checked out because it was so repetitive. And I had this like I told you, I was a driven kid.
Yeah.
With whatever I was doing, I was very driven, and I feel like I was just miserable. I was in a very bad mindset. I was,
You're in a matrix.
depressed about it, kind of, and I was seeing this is a dead road. I think the most I made at that time, early 20s there, in 18 to early 20s was probably 60 grand. And I was like, shit, I can have this job forever, but that's all it's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same thing every day. And dude, I got PTO. I never used it. 5 years. It wasn't until the last year that I actually took time off of work.
Why?
Because that position was only me.
Oh, you couldn't take time off.
If I could ask, but it's if I took off, that means all that week of sales, I wouldn't get the money. I'd still get that shitty salary, but I wouldn't get the commission. And then who am I going to pass that off to, that workload?
So you didn't have you couldn't take off.
No, I had a shitload of PTO added up. So from 18 years old, 19, 20, 21, 22, never traveling, stuck at a dead-end job all the time. Those are the times you're supposed to go have fun, travel, meet people, whatever it is. Just be a kid, really. Do whatever you want. I was stuck in a dead-end job, and I was feeling like I'm
40,
50, miserable. You know what I mean? Getting fed lies.
Yeah.
And then I didn't go to college, not many people did in my family, but I always knew like, I can be successful without it, and I'm going to prove to people that I can be successful without it. You know what I mean? But that job was taken away from that chip on my shoulder of proving to people, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, by the last 2 years of it, I wasn't a very direct person with stuff, and I'd like internalize shit and like just be in my head constantly, talk about it, you know, to people around me, bitch about it, victimize situations, and like I was miserable for the last 2 years. Like I wanted to quit, and it wouldn't have mattered. Like I could make that money anywhere, you know?
Yeah. Did you know you
like,
could?
Yeah,
Well,
but it was like my dad still worked there, and it wasn't like it's his company or something and I was going to let him down. He didn't care, but it was just like, oh, if I quit, then it's going to make him look bad, or it's going to give a workload to somewhere else, or I don't know what I want to do with my life. So this is just like easy for me, you know?
Yeah.
You're
trapped.
It started to reprogram me to
There you
think
go.
like that's it. And I've, you know, I didn't want to feel trapped no more. That's for sure.
And then it gets interesting.
It gets
Talk
very interesting.
about how it gets
Probably
interesting.
that last year, like I said, I started to take time off. I went through a breakup, like high school sweetheart, whatever, was together for 4 years, went through a breakup, you know, that threw a curve. But I'm someone that stuff will get to me, but I'll move on quick and like move forward. But got in a different relationship really quick, and then started like, I drank. You know, I had older cousins stuff. I drank in middle school, high school, smoked weed in high school. But towards the end of this job, I started like partying, doing drugs, you know? And that started like change my mind about things and push me in a different direction, right? So yeah, it gets interesting here.
All right, let's go dig into it. I want to know.
Basically, the last year working there was like end of 2019. I basically put a spreadsheet. I built a spreadsheet of like all the clients and all the money that I made this company doing this side job, this extra sales. And I offered them, I talked to the CEO of the company, and I offered them like basically an ultimatum or just an option like, hey, I don't want to work here full time anymore, but what I do want to do is I want to handle this piece that I'm making commission on.
Mm-hmm.
So the doctors are still happy, the clients are still happy, you guys make profit, I make money, I can just come and deliver these things and set them up anytime I want. I'll be on my own schedule. That was the goal, because I didn't want to be in an office no more.
Yeah.
And
sounds like a great idea to me.
Yeah. So, and nobody told me to make this thing. I made this spreadsheet, showed them the numbers, everything. They had a big meeting. No, we want someone full time. Sorry. And then they asked, can you stay here like another month or so and train someone? And I was like, maybe I'll think about it. From that moment, I was really burnt out. But from that moment that I got that answer after being a good employee this whole time, I went back to my desk. I typed up a 2-week notice. And that 2 week just so happened to be like between Christmas and New Year's. So that 2 weeks, which was 10 days of work, really was like, I don't know, 4 days of work.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like my fuck you of like,
Yeah.
hey, I'll train someone and I'll put in my 2 weeks and do everything that a good employee is supposed to do.
Right.
I don't know how good the person's going to be. So I did that. The person that I trained, I always thought that job should have had like 2 or 3 people. Like that's how much workload I had. So that person that I trained, and I did a good job training him in the time, he quit like 2 days into it. So they failed. And then like I told them before, I was like, hey, you guys are going to have to hire like 2 people to do this job. What ended up happening, they hired 2 people. They quit. So it was, you know, it was a laugh. I wasn't worried about it though. But basically my last day was like January of 2020. And in that time, like I said, I was like getting into drugs, partying, doing whatever, staying up late, going to raves, you name it. I started like selling dope, right?
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know this.
All types of like party stuff.
Yeah,
you know
yeah.
what I mean? In high school, I was like slinging weed.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? I wanted to smoke for free, basically.
Got you.
So I was doing that too. But it, you know, basically the transition out of a 5-year shitty job to not working there anymore and just wanting to travel and live life.
Yeah.
Was into.
You were bottled up. You were like bottled up.
Oh,
You
yeah,
hadn't
and then
traveled.
I went crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So okay, it's 2020.
Yeah,
January.
So 2020.
COVID's about to hit. What's going on?
So my plan was, I love fitness. I'm gonna be a personal trainer. I'm gonna coach people, and I'm gonna build up clientele, and I'll make $50 to $100 an hour training people at gyms.
Yeah.
COVID happened. Gyms are closed.
Yeah.
Guess what? You only have one play now, and it was the illegal one.
Mm-hmm. So okay, so you're selling, doing your thing. You're being an entrepreneur.
Definitely an entrepreneur.
So what happens next? Like you don't end up selling party stuff for the rest of your life.
No. So that took place like pretty much during the hard times during COVID, like
Up until like summer.
Yeah, I mean I was probably doing it 2019, 2020. Really like had a good year that year. Like had fun, partied all the time, 3-4 nights a week. Going to raves, traveling, like you name it, just having fun. Definitely not in the matrix anymore.
Yeah.
New group of friends, loving life, feeling like I found it. This is it, right? And then
how old are you at this point?
That was like
24?
4 years ago. Yeah, 24, 23, 24, something like that. So I did that for probably that whole year,
Mm-hmm.
and always looking over my shoulder. Knew it was bad.
Yeah.
But like, in that type of industry, like the money comes in, all of a sudden everybody knows you. You're everywhere. You're having a good time. You're getting paid to party, and then kind of got burnt out because that's not really my lifestyle. I've always been into fitness.
You're just not being healthy.
Yeah, just not being healthy, feeling bad, not hitting goals that I want. I knew that was not a forever thing. Like anybody that thinks it is like delusional. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You're doing something illegal. Like it's bound to catch up with you, or you're bound to just stop. You know what I mean? Or something's gonna happen.
What's a goal that you did not hit and you're like, shit, okay, this is not what I think it is?
Dude, honestly, I was just tired of looking over my shoulder. I feel like every time I was driving around, even at my apartment at the time, I felt like my fucking door was gonna get kicked in. Like it was bad. It was constant anxiety.
Yeah.
And then it was constantly getting fucked up. Constantly partying. So like of course, in the moment you're having fun and like you're everyone's best friend. And then, when you wake up and you're sober, it's like, all that's gone.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah, that's the reality.
Yeah.
Did you, because, I had a partying phase as well. Do you feel like the relationships that you build when you're partying are strong?
Dude, I had so many friendships during that time.
Yeah. How many of them are you still friends with today?
There's a couple that I still talk to. There's one that's still a best friend.
Right.
And he's paying the price for the same mistakes right now. He's sitting in prison.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he's just waiting to get let out. Another friend sitting in prison for 5 years. Right.
For what? Selling?
Same thing.
Selling?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Good people.
Yeah.
But that life, like it leads one way and it always happens.
So think about this, man. You're literally on the border of what people's choices are, right? It's like, okay, go get a job or go sell, be an entrepreneur in that category, right?
Yeah.
So it's like people don't really have as many options as we might think we do. Do you think so or no?
Now, like with where I'm at in life now, I think there's so many fucking options.
Okay.
Here in America, I feel like there's so many fucking options if you actually apply yourself. And that's another thing. Like, I'll have drinks occasionally, but I hardly ever drink. I don't do drugs anymore. So my mind's clear. My mind's like, it's sober. I'm the best I've ever been mentally.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? My mindset's sharp. I feel like there's so much opportunity. I feel like people just don't apply themselves.
Okay. And then what happens? So how do you get into getting out of that scene?
So
what happens in 2020, started in
2020, I'm just burnt out with it. And then January 21, I got into wholesale real estate.
Okay.
Right.
I did not know you did
so
that.
I had money at the time, and I didn't, I had a nest egg, and I didn't need to go get another regular job. So I'm like, one of my buddies that I worked with at GNC hit me up. He owns a wholesaling company. He says, hey, you want to come work for me? I'm like, fuck, I'm not doing anything else. Let me go try it. I've cold called people before.
Mm-hmm.
Start doing it, and it was easy. And like every single deal pulls in, anywhere from 5 to 50 grand profit. I was learning at the time, so I wasn't making 50 grand profit, but I was like, oh wow, this is easy.
Yeah.
Started doing that. I think I did that for like 6 months, and then the same thing happened.
Burned
I was
out?
sitting in a tiny office, like
Oh, got you.
100 square feet, burnt out, sharing 100 square feet space for 6 months with someone else, 5 days a week, all day long, like completely burnt out. And then someone, tells me, hey man, I made like 65 grand this month doing roofing. Like, you want to come to dinner with us? We're having dinner. You can meet all the guys. 65 grand. I'm in. I never heard of that before. You know what I mean?
Well, hang on. Let's go back to wholesale real estate. What is wholesale real estate like? And then describe the cold calls you're making.
Wholesale real estate is awesome. You're not a real estate agent. You're buying off-market properties. So distressed properties, properties that, are going through probate. So like
Foreclosed homes.
someone's grandparents dies and their kids live in a different state and the house is there, it's going through probate. The kids in a different state don't want to deal with it. You're calling these people and offering, not market value because the house is distressed. It needs fixing up, right? So you're offering really, low offers, but fair offers. And then you're either selling it to an investor or selling it to another wholesaler and marking it up. You're making an assignment fee.
And what's the cold calls like when you're calling these people?
Basically got a list of people, and you're on this like automatic call thing. So if one person doesn't answer, it's on to the next, like constantly. So it's all day.
Oh, so you're not putting the phone down?
Not putting the phone down. No.
Like literally,
Boom,
you're
boom,
not putting
boom,
it down.
Boom. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, man, a lot of the people were like older people going through stuff.
Yeah.
They couldn't pay the taxes on the property. And anybody that thinks like, oh, I own a home or I own this land, nope. If you don't pay your taxes, that shit's taken away, even if your family's owned it for 100 years. So you're talking to these people who are going through stuff. I talked to a lady that's going through like, cancer, a bunch of different issues. That's what it always is. Something happens, like,
life happens.
Medical issues, life happens. They don't have money. They're retired. Social Security doesn't cover it. They're not paying taxes. They owe 35 grand on a property. Now, we're offering like, hey, we'll pay those taxes off for you and we'll put some money in your pocket so you can go do whatever. We're going to get you out of this situation. So I liked it in a sense of being able to help people. But I didn't like it because there's some wholesalers that just completely screw people over.
Mm-hmm. That's every industry though.
It's every industry.
That's every sales position. There's bad roofers. There's bad life insurance agents. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but again, I just got it. It's easy. I like it. I could do it again. You hire virtual assistants. They make the calls for you, and then once those appointments are lined up, you can call those people that are already hot, ready to sell, and offer them prices. You're looking up after repair costs and the value and all this stuff, and it's pretty simple.
Where do you get the leads for wholesales?
They basically scrub data, and they'll have thousands of leads of homeowners in the area or whatever area they're scrubbing the data for, and then they give it to the VA, virtual assistant, and then they're kind of doing the cold call and then lining up for us.
So why didn't you like it? It sounds like you're not doing the cold call.
I wasn't making as much as I seen coming in. I was getting like 10% of whatever was coming in. And the issue with it too is like you could close like 10 deals, but it could get down to closing time with the title company, and there's extra fees and taxes and other stuff that the homeowner didn't disclose, and now that deal doesn't make sense anymore. You know what I mean? So you could think, oh, I'm going to make this much, and then it gets stripped from you, and you just put in all that time. But the money was there. It was just going back to, I just did 5 years of sitting here doing the same thing in another office in another industry. And then, I went through that phase in 2020, and now I'm doing this again. I'm hitting it again. I'm burnt out,
Dude, I've been seeing so many people do wholesale real estate.
Yeah.
Do you see it being a trend?
I feel like it's with any of like stuff that we do that's like entrepreneurship, like a lot of the people are like-minded, and when they hear how much money they can make, it's like now it's easy to access. It's easy to go do it. It's hard to go knock on, to go send your resume to a company and try to make $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 a year, but you can easily do that in wholesale real estate.
Yeah.
I had a buddy that, we lined up a deal. I went and inspected the house, and since I have a construction background too, and I said, hey man, like this isn't worth flipping, but if we can sell this to another investor or wholesaler, you can make a lot. $85,000.
That's awesome.
And as a wholesaler, you don't put any money up. You can put a deposit, $500 or something, where if it doesn't go through, you lose the $500, big whoop. But $85,000 on one deal, that's someone's year salary on one deal.
That's two people's year salary.
Yeah, right.
So you're what enticed you about real estate? Like, why was it?
It's just a it's big. You're not limiting yourself. Like, there's real estate everywhere. I can call everybody. Yeah. And it's with sales.
Open market.
With sales, it's a numbers game. The more people I talk to, the better chance that I can close a deal, the more money I can make, right?
So you go to dinner with some roofers.
Yep.
What happens?
I like it. I like the synergy. Good people.
Do you want to disclose the company or who you're with?
Yeah, it was Linear Roofing.
Okay.
Great company at the time, and it's still a great company. They're like nationwide now. Kurt and Tony are the owners, and they came from like LA Fitness. They were, big in that company with sales, and they basically created this company. I don't know how many years ago now, 10, 12 years ago. But when I jumped on, I had a great team lead. His name was John, and showed us the ropes, got deals easy, got roofs easy. And I was like, okay, we're making like $4,000 to $10,000 every time I get a roof. Mm-hmm. I love it. This takes forever at a normal job,
Well, how is it so easy?
Because I was already doing it.
Okay.
In sixth grade, I was door knocking. And when someone tells me, hey, on the other side of that door is potentially $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 for you, you just got to close it. You got to provide a service, provide value, trust, all the stuff that comes along with it. But it's easy. It's hard work. You're out in the sun, June, July, wearing jeans, carrying, a fucking ladder around, climbing up on steep roofs that make you shake. But there's money to be made on it. And it's like, again, it's the sales and the commission-based job is eat what you kill, which I love. I hate salaries. I don't like being boxed in. I don't like knowing what I'm going to get paid in 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks is the same thing. I want, big checks.
Every day runs due.
That was the way for it,
So you're door knocking. Did it give you like the reminiscing feeling about being a kid again?
Yeah, and it's competitiveness. So you got a team of 10 guys. Everybody's around the same age. Everybody's competitive. You closed 2 deals today. This guy closed 1. This guy closed 3. You got to beat this guy now.
Yeah.
So, and it's all dudes. You got that camaraderie that you had in sports. Again, we can't go back in time and play sports, but we have it in sales.
You can play in business, bro.
Right.
I love the competitiveness in sales, bro. So you do roofing with Linear, and then sounds like you do very well for yourself. You're killing it. What happens next?
I started to see. I learned the business, right? So, it's contracting. You go sell a job, you hire a crew, subcontractors. You get the insurance money, you pay for your materials, you pay for your crew.
You understand the business.
Yeah, and understand the business. It's simple. And then, again, not getting greedy or anything, but you're like, I'm splitting this with this company, and this company isn't Walmart, not saying anything bad about them, but I'm like, I'm doing the legwork, and I'm splitting 50% or even more at the time. They're taking 60, 70% probably if we look at it. And I'm the one sweating and getting on the roofs and selling the customer and building trust, and they know me.
Right.
Does a big company with 300 reviews help? Yeah, it probably helps, but in the most, like, you're selling yourself every time.
Every time.
Because that industry's service. Like, they're getting a roof, so they're getting a product, but they're getting a service.
Do you believe in sales? Because I believe this, but I want to know what you think. That people are not like buying a roof from you; they're buying you. When I speak to Mike Powers, I'm buying into what Mike Powers sells. I don't give a shit if you sell toothbrushes or whatever it is, but I like Mike. I need a toothbrush. I like Mike. I need a roof. let's go.
Right.
Is that it?
Right. And again, it goes back to letting them know they have a problem, getting them to admit they have a problem. When they see like like baseball size hail hitting their house for 30 minutes that just torched their car, they know they need a new roof.
Yeah.
You know, so it's easy. But it is selling yourself. So you got to like look sharp. And even though you're walking around sweating in 110-degree weather, you got to look sharp. You got to carry yourself well, speak well. You're dealing with, you know, anywhere from probably $12,000 to $100,000 exchanged from the homeowner to you. You know, you're the one collecting the check. They got to trust you to do that. Right. And they got to trust you with their home. You're working on the main part of their home. You're not working on, you know, their garden. You're working on their roof. You know, something happens like and it rains, their whole house is fucked up. You know. Yeah.
Well, okay. I want to kind of dive into the roofing industry because I did roofing for about 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, whatever it was. I got, you know, a couple roofs, a couple solar deals, and it wasn't bad. It wasn't like my favorite thing, but it was my first time ever doing sales.
Okay.
Like I was a server, so you can kind of call it sales. I was a server for like 6 years. And then I got, you know, became an engineer. You and I actually had a conversation at one point where I kind of picked your brain. I was like, hey, man, what do you do? You're like, oh, I do roofing, da-da-da. You tell me how much you make. I'm like, oh, cool. You do. I'm an engineer, but you're making more than me. And I'm like, hang on, something's not adding up.
Yeah. Elevator conversation.
Yeah, the elevator conversation we had. And I'm like, bro, something's just not making sense. So
you're like, I went to college. What the fuck? This guy?
Bro, I was fucking
could do better
pissed.
Than this guy.
I don't want to say like that, but it's like, it was not just you. Mind. It's a lot of people.
Right.
I would see like, I mean, we can just go down the list. We know a bunch of roofers. Yeah. We know so many people. And I'm like, bro, I did so much more work than them, and they're making more money. Yeah. Something's not adding up. And I was like pissed. And I started door knocking.
Yeah.
I was like, let's go roofing. And I did it. And I'm in the industry, and I kind of understand what the system is and how the process goes and how to sell yourself. And, you know, I get it. Not to the maybe extent you do, but I have an understanding of it to a degree. What are some bad things about the roofing industry that people don't understand?
Like any industry that we just talked about, like there's shady people, and, you know, there's people that'll get on a roof and there's no damage and they'll make damage. And they'll show the customer fake pictures. They'll file a claim. They'll get the adjuster out there, and the adjuster's like, dude, there's no damage. Yeah. And you just wasted someone's time, you know, lying to the homeowner. You know, back in the day, people would steal checks and not do the work. It's pretty straightforward now. I mean, you got to be a shitty person to screw people over in the roofing industry. It's so easy, you know. And it's just a simple process. But, you know, like any industry, there's shitty people. That's about the only side of it. Is, you know, there could be a bad project manager or sales guy. Mm-hmm.
Is there any like disruptors in the industry in regards to like shingle technology coming up that you think?
Not that I know of. I haven't done roofing over 2 years now. Okay. 2.5 years now. Okay. I haven't done roofing. Like, I'll do it here and there with construction business if I get a referral, but I haven't done it. Shingles. Okay. That's kind of another reason why I got out of the industry, because hail in Texas is pretty seasonal. We get it during spring, maybe summer. The rest of the year it's good. And hail doesn't hit everywhere. It hits certain spots. And then those certain spots are just flooded with roofers. Right. And then when you knock those doors, half are renters, half are homeowners. Another half of those homeowners have a roofer already, because it's Texas. We all know somebody that's a roofer. You were a roofer once. I was a roofer. Everybody's a roofer. Like,
no, literally.
If and then you're in your 20s, you were probably a roofer, you know?
So then what happens? You do roofing for a couple of years, and then...
I actually went to another company, the same company you were at before. I went to that company for like 4 months. In between that time, I'm constantly changing stuff. Now that, you know, I told you, like, if I gave advice to a young person, it would say to try a bunch of different things. Yeah. It was delayed, but, you know, in my mid-20s, now I'm trying everything, seeing what I like, because I don't know what I want to do with my life yet, right? But I'm getting there. I started doing contracting, so roofing, like I said, is very seasonal, but, like, every homeowner needs stuff done to their house, so I started getting into doing patios, remodels.
I remember this. This is when you and I started being, you know, building a relationship.
Yeah, because I was like, why? I thought to myself, I'm like, I'm knocking on doors talking to homeowners. Why would I sell one product? Yeah. Why wouldn't I sell everything? Right. It's the same type business. You find a crew, you collect a deposit, you do the job. You make the customer happy. You get referrals. Boom. You know, simple.
What's the you know the pitch when you're trying to sell everything when you're door knocking instead of roof? Because roofing is
Dude,
like,
I'll be honest. I utilized roofing towards the tail end of me doing roofing. I utilized the contracting stuff by planting the seeds of, hey, I also do this.
okay.
Right? Because you got all these customers that already trust you. Most people need stuff done to their house.
Yeah.
Right? Whether it's now, 6 months, a year. So I would just plant the seeds with them. So it wasn't like door knocking and say, hey, do you need a bunch of shit done to your house?
Got you.
It was just like planting those seeds, building those relationships and trust, marketing on, you know, Facebook, Instagram, Nextdoor app.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have a list of clientele, and then are you calling them and reminding them? How are you making sure that you're maintaining that relationship so whenever they do need something, Mike Powers is the first person that pops in their head?
I probably didn't do a good job at that.
So you left some money on the table.
Yeah, I left some money on the table. I'm a lot better about it now because I don't like hounding people and bugging people. But, you know, I think, you know, I'm not one of these people that's like I'm calling someone every week, checking up on them. But if you can utilize an opportunity to check up on a client or whatever it may be, you know, Merry Christmas, whatever it may be, you know, you can utilize that as an end. Or, you know, like I always had a link app that, you know, has my name, business, reviews, pictures of stuff that I would send to customers. And again, everybody works off of incentives. So referrals is the biggest thing in like commission-based industry. You know, everybody talks to everybody. So I would incentivize homeowners at the time to, you know, pay them for referrals. You know, that's probably the best avenue.
Paying for referrals, yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
We do that as well. So then you get into solar. Is that the next step?
No, here's another story.
Let's go.
So, and I haven't talked about this to anybody. There's people, there's only a select few people that like even know about it, but it's my story, it's my life, right? So the bad decisions I made during like 2020, 2019, obviously now we've talked and, you know, went a long way where I've done different jobs, done different industries. I'm still like partying, having a good time. You know, going to the clubs on the weekend, whatnot. But my life's changed around where I'm not selling dope. I'm not doing any of that anymore. You know, I may use it, but I'm not selling it. I'm not in the industry. I've had 3 different career paths since then, right? So like September 21, I was remodeling my house and I'm driving down the road to get a tool.
Okay.
I was speeding. I get pulled over, right? And state trooper, you know, gets out, asks how fast you're going, you know, just normal stuff. And I've gotten tickets before for speeding. Everybody has, but it's taken longer. And I'm not really worried about it, but it's taken longer. It's like 10 minutes just sitting in my car waiting with my chick. And then he comes back and his first question is, sir, do you have any like narcotics or guns in the vehicle? And I was like, no, you know. But instantly in my head, I'm like, oh, fuck, like what's going on? Something's going on, because that's not normal. Usually they come back, they give you a warning, they give you a ticket. And it was nice, and I'm very respectful to cops. I support cops. I love cops. But he's like, hey, do you mind getting out of the car? We go to the back, and he's like, man, I don't know if this is, you know, real or not. I'm having it called in to check if it's, you know, good or bad, but you got 3 warrants out for your arrest. I've never been in trouble in my life. I was always been a good kid, you know. Nothing along the story has been bad besides party phase, right? And you know, I'm keeping calm. It is what it is during this time, but in my head I'm like, fuck, like what's going on? I've never been arrested. I've gotten a speeding ticket before. I've never been arrested, you know. So I'm like, I don't even know what this is about. He's like, well, I got to call it in. If the warrants are good, I got to take you to jail. But if they're not good, you can handle this stuff on another day. So I'm like, oh, please, God, like, let me handle this on another day. Comes back, he's like, man, I got to take you in. And this is just months or years later, you know what I mean? This is end of 21, you know, a couple years later. I'm like, shit, it's time to pay for mistakes and bad decisions, you know? So, I get taken in. I'm there like 24 hours.
What was it for?
It was 3 warrants for dealing dope.
Oh, how'd they find? How'd that?
Manufacturer delivery. Yeah, funny story is like, it's funny at the beginning of all this, like the one time, like an advice for anybody, like your intuition is the internal voice of God. When you have a gut feeling and you have your intuition telling you something, fucking listen to it. Again, I was going through a party phase. Your mind's distorted at the time. You're doing stupid stuff. And at the time, you just care about having fun, making money, whatever it is. Someone messaged me on Snapchat.
Oh, man.
This was like December of 2019, right? Someone messaged me on Snapchat, hey, I got your number from so-and-so, da-da-da, can you meet me? Met him, felt weird about it, seemed like a normal person. Boom, maybe another month goes by, or a couple weeks, meet him again. Boom, you know, go on with my life, party, keep doing the same shit. But I always kind of felt weird about it because
you don't know.
Yeah, it wasn't like,
you're just some random guy.
This is Aura, or this is so-and-so.
Yeah.
Like, I've never met you, never seen you, but I was dumb, you know, high at the time, right? You make stupid decisions. And then, again, all this time goes by. December 2019 to September 21, that's almost 2 years, right? And then I get arrested for, you know, these specific charges, get taken in, probably sit like 12 hours before anybody talks to me in a holding cell. And then the detective that was on the case, like, pulls me in. He looks like a normal guy, like 40 years old, long hair, beard, like, doesn't look like a cop at all. Looks like an undercover, like, person, you know what I mean? He drops, like, a big binder with my picture on it, like, right in front of me. And I seen it, and I was like, I think this is, like, intimidation. I was like, there could be a binder full of shit from me. Like, yeah. I know what I've done, whatever, but I was like, this is intimidation. He didn't show any of the pages. He only showed one page with, like, money on it. And basically it was like, you know, we know what you did. We got you for this, this, and this. And their play with, like, everybody in that thing, and I don't know if every city is like this, and I won't disclose the city this was in, but it's local, was, like, basically like, hey, we'll let you off of this if you work with us.
Right.
And, you know.
Basically be a snitch.
Yeah, maybe that would have been a good deal looking back on it, but I was like, nah, I'm going to talk to my lawyer.
Yeah.
I didn't have a lawyer, but I'm going to speak with a lawyer first. He's like, okay, that's smart, you know. Move on, stay another 12 hours, bond out, bail out, whatever it is. Shitting a brick now, because I'm like, oh my God, like, I've never been arrested. Like, am I going to do time? This is legit now. Like, I've got to handle this, right? And whenever you go through something like that, there's nothing, like, certain. The only thing certain, like, when you're hit with charges is I might do time. I might pay a lot of fines. I'm in fucking trouble.
Yeah.
That's all that's certain, right? I know I got to handle this. I can't do anything about it. And probably, 6 months goes by before I even
hear anything.
Hire the lawyer, drop, 5 figures on the lawyer, drop money on the bond out, spend money, for different things they required during that time, go to court a few times. It keeps getting pushed back. Luckily, in Texas, when you get in trouble the first time for something, if it's, local or whatever, you get hit with probation. So they offered like 10 years probation and then got it down to 5 years probation. So I'm like, oh my God, that's awesome. I don't have to, like, do time for some stupid mistake that I'm not even involved in anymore, right?
Man, what a story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then now it's like in between that time, I got out of the roofing, was doing the contracting, got screwed over in the contracting. So I'm like low on funds, get arrested, even lower on funds now because I just had to pay, money to a lawyer. Lawyers are expensive.
Yeah.
And now it's like, fuck, what do I do? I knew someone from the fitness industry. I wasn't friends with them. I just knew of them, made a bunch of money selling solar. And I was like, I'm going to hit this person up,
You
So
reached out.
I reached out. I was like, I got to do something that makes me a lot of money, reach out to him, meet at an office on a Tuesday. If John might see this, John Looney was the guy. I don't know if you know him, but he's pretty big in the solar industry. He posted like a $1 million pay for the year, or $1.7 million, whatever it was. I got enticed. I hit him up. He said, come in on a Tuesday. Came in. Didn't know nothing about solar. Just knew, hey, this is replacing your electricity bill. It's going to save you money. That's it. And then I had like an urge to like, I got to get it now. Like, there's no fucking around.
When is this? What day is this?
This is a Tuesday.
This
is
what year?
April 22.
22. I think we met in 22.
Yeah, just got probation. Barely have a pot to piss in financially. Yeah. April 22 comes around. Start doing solar. The first day I go out, I'm knocking doors. I probably knock 25 doors, talk to nobody. And then finally the last door I knocked, set an appointment, closed it, $4,000 payday on one deal, right?
Wow.
And I'm like, okay, let's go. Like, this is it. This is the opportunity. Let's change things around, And it's benefiting the client, which I loved. You're saving families money that are struggling. And then it just took off from there. Like I was brand new, didn't know nothing. I probably did 5 deals that week, 12 deals the first month, and it just trickled, right? Trickled. And then I'll keep rambling on about this because that was April. And then I was killing it all the way to August, 4 months just killing it, making 50 G's a month, right? For the first time, that's huge, So August comes around, 2022. This is a big company. It's nationwide. I get when we signed up, I was supposed to do a background check. And they're like, hey, don't worry about it. So I got 4 months. I got away with 4 months of working there. Didn't have to do a background check, making great fucking money, happy, feel like okay, this is relieving the stress now. And then I get hit in August with, hey, you have to do a background check or we're gonna have to terminate you. Well, okay, I do it. Well, that shit's on my record. It's temporarily on my record, luckily, because we're on, if you go through probation and do everything right, it's gonna get off the record, thank God. But get that letter and I'm like, fuck, this goose egg of an opportunity I had is stripped away from me, right? Gone. So again, just like roofing to solar, I learned the business. I seen what was wrong with the business, and I seen what I could do, what I'm capable of. You make that much money each month, you're like, I know what to do now. My business partner now, he started with me working at that company probably the last month. And he was successful in it too. And we both were tied at each other's hips like we are now, over 2 years now. And we're like, we can do this on our own. Let's figure it out. I made a bunch of money during that time, saved it, very frugal. And now it's like, hey, let's build our own business, right? So there's actually a guy we did a proposal for that's a multi-millionaire land developer. He loved it so much. He's like, I want to start a business. I'm like, nah, you're just blowing smoke, right? Nobody just wants to start a business. You're already killing it. He was serious. So he put up money for equipment and all this stuff. And we knew the sales side of it and some of the operations, and just learning as we go. But he bought a bunch of equipment, $500,000 worth of equipment. So he handled that. We started building this company together. We worked for we started that in probably September. Started working on stuff for September to December. Equipment wasn't even here. Equipment didn't get here until February of 23 or something. Or if I got the dates right.
Yeah, you got 22 and then next year will be 23.
So the equipment started coming. We worked for zero money. We didn't make anything. There's no salary. There's no commission. There's nothing to sell.
It's just dream.
There's just
a vision.
Dream and we actually had an office right across the street we were renting during this time, and we were just in there just figuring everything out because there's a lot that goes into solar. It's not just go sell someone panels. There's financing. There's permitting. There's tons of stuff. tons of layers to it. We get this equipment and start selling, and as soon as money starts coming in, the guy at the time gets sideways.
Oh, the investor?
Yeah, it gets sideways.
Interesting.
Right? So, and then he starts doing real shady stuff. And in the solar industry, it's just like every other industry, but maybe even worse. You can be very shady if you want to.
Mm-hmm.
We weren't with it. So I got like one check from him. He got a little weird. And then after 6 months of not making anything and living on savings, and he wasn't keeping accountability or holding his word like he said, and he wanted us to do shady stuff, so we walked away from it. But in that time, we built, a lot of connections in the industry, which, helped lead us to where we are now.
So in that period, are you basically building a different company and then you start Solar Buff?
Yeah.
When y'all walk away?
Yeah.
So Solar Buff was started when?
Solar Buff was started, we created the LLC June of 23.
So it's been a year.
Yeah, that's when that started.
But you've been working, obviously.
Yeah, and really that was just to, like, brand ourselves. But we had a company that we were starting, and it was a different name, and we made some sales with it and started going, and then it got sideways. But we're like, again, get kicked while we're down, and we're like, okay, we'll figure this out.
Bro, that's a great story.
Yeah,
it's a great story from beginning to. We're not even
and we've still been working on it.
Yeah, yeah.
And when we walked in here, you're like, how's your day been? I'm like, it's fucking awesome.
Yeah. There's
been like a lot of trials and errors, and we brought on a team recently, 2 weeks ago.
Okay, like a crew or like a sales team?
No, we've had crews, we've done sales.
Okay.
For this is the first time we've had like an actual big team under us.
Got you.
For our company, and before that it was just me and my business partner Lee just doing sales ourselves,
right,
and trying to brand and get ourselves out there. But now it's time to buckle down and like build a team, and we have the foundation, and I like sales, and I think it's the best thing anybody could ever do, but I love the operation side of this, to just build a platform. And I've been through shitty companies, so I know what it's like. So now anybody that comes on, I'm going to make sure they have the best experience, they get paid fair, more than fair, and everything's smooth, because the problem with this industry is like the teams we brought on, they've been with 10 other companies in the past 2 years. Why? The same reason every time: you get screwed over financially. It's simple. Keep them happy, don't screw them over. You know what I mean? They're feeding you, you're feeding them. Like, it's running. It's a well-oiled machine.
Yeah.
What's
the how long have you had a team? Like, I know it may be different teams, but how
long have we had a team?
Yeah.
Literally 2 weeks.
2 weeks. So
all before that, it was just me and my business partner Lee, like killing it ourselves. And I thought in my mind, like I don't need a team. I'm doing good myself. But finally, like this year, something clicked where I'm like, you know what, like again, now I'm more faithful, pray a lot, talk to God a lot, ask for challenges. I like prayed a lot I want to become a leader. I want to, that's the next level. I've always been able to like kill it on my own, but like, how do I make other guys successful?
There you go. There you go.
That's the next level that I need to be in. And now we're brought to it. Now it's like 2 weeks and it's killing it.
It's going to be the hardest thing you do.
Yeah. So far it's fantastic. I mean, there's times where I'm up at 4 a.m. and not asleep till like 11, 12, but I love it. I'm like, I was texting him last night and was like, dude, like I can't even sleep because I'm so fired up, like purpose driven, like fired up about all this time we like grinded for fucking nothing and delayed gratification. Well, now it's coming. You know what I mean?
So whenever you're now a sales leader and a CEO, you kind of go out of the sales rep role into a sales leader and then also CEO.
Yeah, and it's hard to do both.
That's what I was getting to.
I can do some deals myself if a referral comes in or so on, but it's extremely hard to do both, because I'll have guys that'll hit me up and it's like, hey, are you going to be knocking? Are you coming knocking? It's like, dude, I'm so busy trying to make sure every other sales guy, their deal goes through.
Right.
All the process is done where they're happy, because if they're not happy, just like any sales company, they'll go on to the next sales company. So you got to keep them happy, and we got to keep things consistent. So you got to like grind. If they're hitting you up at 11:30 at night or 6 in the morning, like I'm replying.
Right.
I want to make sure they have a good experience.
What's it been like? And what are some things that you're now having to realize that, hey, you're going from a sales position to a leader position? Like, I know it's been a very short time period, but what's been happening that you realize, okay, I'm not just representing me, but I'm representing all these guys, and it's up to me that these guys eat.
Yeah. The good thing about this is, as far as eating, they're grinding themselves. I'm hiring veterans that they have teams under them. So if there's anybody a rookie, they're handling them. I don't even touch them. But I'm hiring veterans that I built relationships with in the industry when I started, and kept those friendships, kept those relationships. You know, while they're going to different companies, you know, weather the storm, we're creating something, and it's been here, and now we're ready for them. And now it's time to give them success and show them how it is. And what's funny is I think I was texting someone last night that I'm like, dude, like all this time that we spent on this, I'm not tripping. I'm not worried. I'm fucking prepared. I'm overly prepared for what I'm doing right now. So there's no learn as I go anymore. It's like I'm ready for this. This is what the fuck I was built for. This is what I've been doing this whole time, you know?
What would you tell someone who is not where you are but wants to be where you're going to be? You go back in time, you speak to Mike Powers at 18.
I guess it depends on the age, but really like
18.
Yeah, 18, like I said, is like
Try a bunch of different things.
Try a bunch of different things and be okay with delayed gratification. Stop trying to find success and compare yourself to other people where like you're trying to rush things. Like you're not going to be a millionaire overnight. You're not going to build the best physique in 1 year. Like it takes years and years and years. But once you like obviously have faith, and once you are just like committed to being the best person you can be, and like putting action towards like what you're doing, whatever that is, relationships, networking, podcasts, sales, door knock, whatever the fuck it is, like when you're taking that action towards like doing it, that's where it takes off.
What's your vision with Solar Buffs? What's the future look like?
I just want to build something where everyone is happy and it's consistent. In a sales position, like where you're making commission, you can have really, really good months, and there could be months where you make nothing. So there's inconsistency with it. That's where when you talk to family or something that's in a dead-end job, they're like, oh, aren't you scared about this or that? Well, yeah, there is down months in it, but there's very, very high months too. But my goal right now, that like all I'm focused on is making sure these guys are happy and have a platform that's like successful for them, so they're not, moving on to a different company. Because there's got to be a respect for everybody that's part of the company. There's got to be a respect for the office people handling office work, the sales guys, the operations, the owners, the people putting up the money, so on. Like without each and every person, it's not a business, right? So you got to make sure everybody's taken care of and happy. So that's as far as the vision, like that's the focus right now. The vision is to just scale it, grow it,
What's the hardest part about holding your sales guys accountable but still being a good leader for them?
Dude, I haven't been crossed with having to hold them accountable, like making sure they hit goals or anything like that. Like I have plenty of people that I could hit up in this industry, and I could have hit up a year ago or 6 months ago and bring them on. But our vision with the company has been integrity, where we're doing things right. I've watched a lot of people screw people over just to make commission, and I don't like it one bit. I'm not that type of person. I've turned down opportunities just because I don't want to screw someone over. You know what I mean? I'm not going to take advantage of someone to fill my pockets. And it happens a lot in any industry where there's commission. So, our company is based on integrity. So the guys that I have brought on, it's guys that I like, guys that I trust. It's not guys that are just in it to fuck someone over and ruin our brand,
I got you. What is the ideal situation for you in the next 5-10 years?
there's some milestones that I want to hit in the business, and then financially, like, you know, like when you're a kid, you're like, I want to make 100 grand. I want to make 10 grand a month. Now that next thing is like breaking 7 figures, like take home, because the revenue is easy to hit that, but I want the take home to be 7 figures, and I want everybody else that's, you know, killing it on our team, like, to do the same thing. But I want to be able to, you know, right now I'm getting paid for what I know. I used to trade time for money. I'm getting paid for what I know now. The next thing is to have enough money to leverage that money, right? So that's the next step. 5-10 years, whatever it may be. It may be 2 years. That's the goal, is to do it as quickly as possible. But that's the next goal.
What are you obsessed with right now?
I'm always obsessed with fitness. I'm always obsessed with, let me take that back. I'm obsessed with being better. With all the shit we just talked about, all the things that's happened in my life, and it's just scratching the surface on like everything, you know? I'm obsessed with being the best person I can possibly be. My faith is the strongest. I want to be the best man for my chick I'm in a relationship with. I want to be, I'm not a father yet, but when that happens, I want to be the best provider, and I want like my kids to look up to me, and I want to be, you know, supportive to them, help them, you know, don't limit them any way in life, you know, like push them. But I'm obsessed with being better every fucking day, just whatever it takes to be a little bit better every single day. I know people say it all the time, but like in every fucking aspect I can be, you know, just be better.
What is you said you want to be a father. When do you want to be a father? Is it like based on a number amount, like year amount?
Really, it's just being able to grow my business where I'm at a point where I can take care of everything. I can take care of my wife. I can take care of my kids. There's no question about it. I can provide them with the life that I never had. That's going to be the time. Right now needs to be the focus on like building this thing. And again, probably people say it all the time, but like if you're distracted, it's going to distract you from building this business. Like if you have kids right now, it's going to take away. I don't care about the partying and traveling so much. I'll travel here and there, but it's like the focus is building something that will provide amazing life for my future family. You know what I mean?
What's the Powers last name going to mean when this is all said and done?
Man, I just want to be, I want to be someone that my kids are fucking proud of. I really want a little girl one day. I used to not want one. I always wanted like a boy, but I want a girl that like, I set the fucking example and the tone of like the type of man that she is going to attract and that she wants, you know what I mean? Because I feel like there's a lot of shitty fucking fathers out there. And they're like, why is my daughter dating this piece of shit? You know, they're all mad. And it's like, well, you're the piece of shit. You know what I mean? You're that guy. Yeah. She's dating you. Yeah. You know? I want to set the bar so high for, you know, my daughter or my son, whatever I'm blessed with. Like, I want to set the bar so high of the type of man to be, or the type of man that you need to have in your life to take care of you. I want to set that bar high, you know? And I always want to make my chick happy, you know? I feel like a lot of people have broken relationships and they don't put effort anywhere in their life. When, you know, giving that effort and purpose, like, it fuels your fucking life in a positive way. And it fuels those around you too.
Cool, man. We can slowly wrap this up. I mean, I can go on and on. We didn't even talk about the books. We didn't even talk about the books. I want to circle back on faith, but we'll save it for another day. I'm gonna definitely have you on again. I'm gonna be doing this for a very long time. Yeah. So we're just scratching the surface.
Yeah, and I'm glad to be on. This is the first podcast, so we'll see how it turns out. But you know, hopefully by the next time we're on, like, there's some milestones we both achieved, and we can like look back and talk about this podcast. And
let me tell you the vision, man. There's gonna be in the future, bro. Everyone's gonna have a documentary. Everyone already has a documentary. Everyone's gonna have books. It's already happening. There's going to be the story of the Powers family. And as you evolve and grow this business, there's going to be, you know, a documentary about you. There's going to be clips of this podcast throughout the years, and it's going to show the progression and the growth. So that's the vision I have with this. So it's called Dollar and a Dream. In in conclusion, do you have any questions for me or any final thoughts that you want to, say before we conclude?
Man, I know like the whole podcast thing is popular, like everybody's doing it, but it's just a real simple question. Like what pushed you to do it? How long ago did you start it, and what pushed you to do it?
Yeah, started 30 weeks ago. So this is episode 32, I think. But yeah, 30 weeks ago. I've been wanting to do a podcast probably for like 10 plus years. So this has been something that I have wanted to do forever. It started with Joe Rogan. I was just on YouTube and I just saw like a 3-hour video and I saw a handful of him.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
I was like, and I clicked it and it's just them talking for 3 hours. And I would like speed past it. I'm like, they're just talking. And I was like, this is fucking stupid. I
love it because like a lot of people listen to music in the car, listen to music at the gym. I literally turn on a podcast and just listen to it. I love different people's perspective, as you do probably.
Mm-hmm.
And I love different perspectives are good. Sometimes they're not good. And then I also like hearing people, that think the same way we do, that have the same morals, same, intentions in life, purpose. It's nice to, like, it's a breath of fresh air to see that there's other people that are like-minded, in this crazy world.
Yeah, it's different perspectives can be interesting. I love talking to people with different perspectives just so I can kind of pick their brain and see why they think the way they do. Usually it stems from either a bad experience or their childhood. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I listened to Joe Rogan and I just loved how like free it was. There was no strings. It was just conversation, dialogue, whatever it was. And then I found Patrick Bet-David and I saw his style of interviews. And it was like very structured, very precise, like very intentional he goes in with an intention and you can tell what that intention is. It's very clear the information he gets out. So I saw Joe Rogan, I saw Patrick Bet-David, and then I love, I don't know if you know Andrew Schultz, but the comedian Andrew Schultz.
To all of them.
Dude.
Listen to everybody all the time.
Dude, yeah, same, literally same. So it's like, I love how like he can just have his boys on and fuck around.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, I want this to be a mixture of all of those.
Yeah.
So that's where I started a podcast with Josh in college, and it was just us with the mic on and no video, and we're just recording and just saying the dumbest shit ever.
Yeah, it's funny because all week I was like, fuck, do I need to write stuff down, or like, how's this going to be structured? And then, today I was like, we had a great conversation the other day. Like, I have great conversations with anybody that's intellectual and like down to earth. So I'm like, let's see where this goes. Let's see where it flows. I'm not going to worry about anything of stress or write anything down. But it was good.
Yeah, man. I feel like I can guide a conversation, especially with storytelling. So like the motive usually is I want to tell your story. And there's so much shit we can talk about that like you and I, we can open politics. We could talk for hours on politics. We could talk about God. Like there's so many other things that we can open up and talk about that I have no problem like, having you on again. And like, I want to have you on again. I want to bring your partner.
I feel like we talked for like 6 hours.
Bro, it's been an hour and a half and we literally, it was just your story.
Yeah.
Like there was nothing.
And I just scratched the surface. We haven't even hit even gotten into the real mindset of like how things are now that could be very, influential to, the audience or other people.
Exactly.
That's the biggest thing like I'm set on right now is just mindset.
And that's another funny thing. It's like I think I really wanted to understand more of like how you got into sales, and that's why I was a lot of sales questions because I want to understand myself better. And I got a lot of value in realizing, okay, some of the things you do is what I do, and it works and it makes sense. It's confirming what I'm doing. And we didn't talk about mindset. Like that's something that there's so much that we can unpack and go deeper in. And I feel like one of the things I'm pretty good at is okay. Find one thing, one topic, and I can go deep into it and talk for hours on it. So like today was just story.
Yeah.
And let's just dig deep in that. But any final thoughts, man? Anything you want to get into the world?
Man, just focus on being better.
I love it.
Don't be a shitty person. Just focus on being better and watch your life unfold in like a very good way. You attract what you are.
Appreciate you, brother.
Yeah.